well, it's not morning anymore, it's already good afternoon, and I'm the last person between you and lunch. But I'm also one of the people that make sure that there is lunch on your table. Because without agriculture and without our products, we would all be standing out there trying to get fish with our bare hands and eat raw fish for lunch instead of having the potatoes and the meat on the table. So let me talk a little bit about the, is that how it goes forward? Which button is forward?
Should be the main one.
There we go. It's just slow. Okay. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about the impact of the human factor on automation and vice versa. And with the COVID situation that we had over the last few years, this codependency became even more apparent. So we talk about what happened in the office and what happened on the shop floor. And what digital measures have we taken to stabilize our production, not just we at Agco, but other companies as well. And we also talk a little bit about what was good and what was not so good, what needs to stay and what needs to go. And then, unfortunately, we are already dealing with the next crisis. So Corona is almost over, I guess. But now we have a war in Eastern Europe, which has another impact on our humanity, but also on the way how we design our products and what's available in the supply chain. This is really slow. There we go. Okay. So when COVID started, I remember I actually happened to be over in Europe when it became apparent that we have a real problem on hand. Agco as a company was really, really fast in reacting, in protecting our workforce. So the first thing we did obviously was, like everybody else, change to remote working operations for the people that could. But obviously on the shop floor, the remote working opportunities are slim. They are there, but they are slim. So we worked on improving the protection of our workforce. And one of the first and easiest things we could do was we printed face shields. We used our 3D printing capabilities to produce face shields, not only for our workers, but the access that we were able to produce went to the local healthcare providers. So that was something that was done within days. And it was easy, and it was relatively inexpensive and very effective because our active cases, percentage of active cases among our workforce was well below the average in the community. So one of the very good measures that we took. Then the next one is we rapidly increased the use of cobots. So a cobot, we talked about cybersecurity and viruses, right? So cobots can suffer from viruses too, so can people. However, they cannot pass it on to each other. So from that perspective, having a cobot work together with human beings is a much safer environment. What you see here is a cobot that is polishing the hood of a small tractor. We use the same type cobot also to clean weld seams in our cabins once they are finished with the welding process. And the good news about a cobot, as the word says, it's a collaborative robot. You can operate it in close proximity to humans, and again, without affecting each other negatively. Now, digital measures that we take to stabilize production. First of all, of course, we had active COVID cases. Also, we had plants that we had to shut down because we didn't get parts like anybody else. So one of the instruments that help us to keep our workforce very flexible are work instructions. And our work instructions are different from what you see usually as a standard worksheet. Our work instructions are electronic work instructions, and they reflect the shop floor order. So they reflect the exact configuration of the product that is being built at the line at this time. So our products are highly configured, so this is very important that we are able to provide these electronic work instructions. And they are obviously change controlled, and they are currently either displayed on an MES screen, or in some of our facilities they are displayed on Google Glass. In the next step, they will become even augmented. So right now, they are electronic but not augmented. So future steps will also lead us towards augmented work instructions. Now there is a video that I would like to have started by the technology geniuses in the back. And it talks about what we are currently doing to become even more paperless and touch-free. So this is something that we are currently doing with HoloLens. And this is used for the final inspection of a tractor in one of our facilities in Markt Oberdorf in Germany. By the way, this is one of the biggest and strongest tractors in the world that we are seeing here. So this is not, while we are watching the video in the background, this is not something that we currently have in our daily operation, but it is certainly something that we have developed to a point that it can be rolled out. We also connected already because we talked about digital thread. So now we are connecting these visual systems with our E-BOM to M-BOM to bill of process to as-built BOM and so on. So this is all part of our big digital thread now. And again, it has proven to be very successful, and it's touch-free and it's paperless, and the information that is taken here from the inspector is fed back to the quality department right away. So if there is something wrong, corrective actions can be undertaken right away. So I'll just finish the video together. Does it show an example of what, please? Yes, yes, yes. And again, if something is not right, it's being fed back to the quality department right away. And then they can also give instructions what to do to fix the problem, obviously. And in case you are wondering what software there is behind, we are using Vuforia, PTC Vuforia. That's behind it. Vuforia, PTC. So this is, this is really happening on the shop floor. This is not something that we created as a big movie show. This is really something that we are already practicing. Again, it's not being rolled out in production yet because we are not quite there yet, but it's in the successful POC phase. And as we learned earlier, not all POCs really go into production, but I have a good feeling that this one will go into production. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about what needs to go and what needs to stay. I'm coming back to the office. Office obviously was very easy for us to change from all present, which was typical for us, to all remote. And we did that within days. It was amazing. Now, there was an article in Forbes not too long ago that talked about that people that were working remotely or are working remotely are as productive as they were in the in-present situation, but not as innovative. So Alice talked about innovation. Apparently innovation was suffering or is suffering if people are isolated and sitting remotely instead of engaging face-to-face with a team. The other things we noticed is productive is relative. Productive to me is what you can achieve within a certain time period, not just what you can achieve. And to me, it has become very obvious that a lot of people worked a lot longer hours than they had when they were still present in the office. Everybody was suddenly expected to be available 7/24. And the fact that we have 50 plants all around the globe means that China was expecting, if they had to participate in a workshop, China was expected to participate at 1 a.m. in the morning versus in the US, somebody was expected to participate at midnight in a workshop. And despite the fact that this was expected, they still had to do their regular work during their regular work hours. So there was, what I noticed among my colleagues, a lot of burnout and a lot of mental tiredness. And also, we learned that the Great Resignation has happened over the last 2 years. Great Resignation has hit us also. It has hit us on the shop floor. It has hit us also in the office jobs. One of the reasons that people had it easier to change jobs was because they didn't have to relocate anymore. If somebody who was working in our office in Atlanta suddenly got a good job offer in San Francisco with one of the tech companies, they were not required anymore to move to San Francisco. So it made that decision easier for them to just jump ship and take a new job. So the turnover, even in the office, was much bigger, and the same in the shop floor. Shop floor, as I said, we could a little bit compensate by using those work instructions also for training purposes. But it is something that's it definitely has impacted us. So we are now offering, again, once we open all our office spaces, not all of them are open yet, but we offer 100% presence. We offer a hybrid solution, and interestingly enough, most people have gone for the hybrid solution. We offer a virtual and we offer a remote option. Virtual meaning you are living close by, but you are sitting at home, and only if it's really needed you come into the office. Remote means you live anywhere in the world and you still work for a certain office location. I personally don't like especially the remote one. I'm not even too wild about the 100% virtual one because, again, I talked about mental stress situations that we encountered during COVID. And I had 2 examples on my team where people were deployed to other sites when COVID happened. One was in Italy, the other one was in Brazil. They were separated from their families for 9 months and longer and could not see their family members. One had just gotten married. He didn't see his wife in, I think, 10 months. And the other one, unfortunately, lost his father and was not even able to get to the funeral. So what we did as a team is we had daily calls in the beginning, and then we changed it to weekly calls, where we as a team talked about these situations and helped each other, basically. But again, this is not so easy when you do this in a remote situation, or as we had to do in a virtual situation. So from a shop floor perspective, there is obviously a faster pace in automation. We have now learned that automation is helping us with our workforce shortage, and it's also helping us with keeping more social distances. Then higher flexibility is absolutely needed among our workforce and among our workers. We have to basically see how many people still to today, I mean, COVID is not over yet, how many people call in sick in the morning. Then we have to arrange our lines accordingly. And we have to see how the market has reacted, for instance, because farming, most products are commodity products, right? So we have to still be able to adjust quickly to the market. But now we have this new problem, availability of parts, that has become very obvious during COVID. So we also now have to adjust to the availability of parts. So now when we plan our production, we cannot plan, oh, this is the orders we have. Now we have to plan our productions. These are the orders we have. These are the parts we have. So what can we produce and what can we not produce? So it requires a much, much higher flexibility in all of our planning tools, in line balancing tools, in our MES systems. It basically impacts all of our shop floor planning and obviously also our resource planning. So now we are dealing with the next crisis, which is the war in Eastern Europe. And this has actually made things a little bit more tight for everybody. We just learned from a previous speaker that about 30% of the energy consumption is caused by manufacturing companies. So energy has become expensive at this point. Depending on how things are going, it may become a little bit sparse. So a smart grid is also something that you as a manufacturer you have to look at it, because you need to reduce energy cost as much as you can and energy consumption as much as you can. We also look at alternative resources for our energy, or alternative sources, not just resources, also sources. And now let's talk a little bit more about the part shortage. Part shortage, in my opinion, will increase because of this situation, because every single country almost in the world is suddenly spending billions of dollars into defense. And where do those chips go to, and where do those steel productions go to in case of an increased defense spending? They all go into the defense industry and get the highest priority there. So we will be seeing more parts shortages based on that. That's my prediction. In Europe, they already see the impact. We have a plant near Wolfsburg where Volkswagen is headquartered, and I was there last week, and the local radio station was reporting that Volkswagen basically told their customers, if your car is not at the end of the production line today, good luck getting your car, because we cannot get any wire harnesses anymore from our suppliers in the Ukraine. so they have no wire harnesses at this point. So we can already feel that impact. Depending on where in the world we are, we can feel that impact strongly. And obviously we use the same supplier as Volkswagen does, so it's impacting us also. What does that mean? So I already spoke about we have to be more flexible when it comes to the production as far as parts availability is concerned. Now we have to talk also about our products. Do we now, and now this is a little bit provoking, do we now add more features into our products, more bells and whistles, or do we de-scope? Do we look now at our products and say, oh, this is wonderful, this is a fantastic feature, I think the farmers will love it, but we need 50 chips for it? Or we look at our products and say, ooh, what are the basic features that the farmers need? And then we focus all our chips onto those functions instead of all the bells and whistles. So that's something that we, as manufacturers, have to think about now, how to address these upcoming problems. And to me, my forecast is this is not over in the next 2 years. I think we'll be seeing shortages for the next 5 years, labor shortages, but also part shortages. 5 minutes left for questions and answers.
Questions? Yes, gentlemen.
And I'm not an IT person, so don't ask any IT specific.
I'm not an IT person as well, although I may look like one. I'm an engineer. But I have an HR question, though,
yeah.
A human factor. What's your experience with onboarding new people to the company at this time when they're remote? And with connecting them and getting them invested and really in the company, in the culture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. First of all, I think the first question is how do you get people interested into working for us? So one of the measures to get people interested is, like, for instance, speaking at conferences like this and showing how cool the technology is that we use, so that especially young people, don't trend to go to the Googles and the Amazons of the world. They also look at us as the users of the Googles and the Amazons of the world. So that's one thing. The next thing is, how do you get people more immersed in your company culture?
And also trained.
And trained, yes.
On your processes,
yeah.
On your technology.
Yeah. So the training process, we at Agco, we for instance have our own university, and I think 95% of all of our courses are virtual. And out of those, at least 10% are mandatory for everybody who joins Agco. And so that's one part of the training program. And then these work instructions that I talked about, they can be tailored. So if we hire somebody for the shop floor, we can tailor those work instructions to the skill level and the knowledge level of the worker. So if somebody is brand new to a line or brand new to Agco, they get much more information than somebody who is already at Agco for the last 15 years and is very familiar with most of our processes. But for instance, we have a change coming, so that person needs to be alerted that the change is coming, so she or he gets a work instruction, basically pointing out this upcoming change. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
Fantastic. Any more for any more? It seems like not. Susanne, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.